The morning sun stretched lazily over the rolling fields of my family farm, casting a golden glow on the old red barn that had stood there for over 100 years. I leaned against my truck, sipping coffee and admiring the view. Life was peaceful, predictable, just the way I liked it. That is, until she showed up. Karen. She marched onto my property like she owned the place, clipboard in hand, her expensive heels sinking into the dirt with every determined step. Short, sharp blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, and an attitude bigger than Texas. I knew the type, self-important, nosy, and always looking for something to complain about. "You there?" she called, her voice shrill. "You can't have that structure here. It's in violation of HOA guidelines." I frowned, lowering my coffee cup. "Excuse me." She gestured dramatically toward my barn. "That unauthorized building. It needs to come down immediately." I chuckled, thinking it was some kind of joke. "Ma'am, this barn has been here since my great-grandfather built it in 1899. It's not going anywhere." Karen pursed her lips, flipping through her papers. "According to HOA regulations, all structures must be approved by the Architectural Review Board. You never submitted a request for this eyesore." I raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, I don't think you understand. This farm has been in my family for generations. It's not part of your HOA." She huffed, adjusting her sunglasses. "Your property falls within the newly expanded jurisdiction of Oak Ridge Estates. As of last month, this land is under HOA governance." That was news to me. No one had told me a damn thing. "And as such," she continued smugly, "you'll be receiving a formal notice and a fine of $500 for the unauthorized structure." I stared at her, trying to process her audacity. "You're fining me for my barn? A barn that's older than you, this HOA, and probably half the houses in your neighborhood combined." Karen didn't even blink. "Rules are rules, sir. You have 30 days to remove it or further action will be taken." With that, she turned on her heel and strutted off, probably imagining a dramatic exit. Unfortunately for her, she miscalculated the depth of a mud puddle, her expensive heels sinking deep into the muck. She stumbled, flailing for balance before catching herself. I bit back a laugh. "Careful, ma'am, that's historic mud you're stepping in." She shot me a glare before stomping away, leaving a muddy trail behind her. I watched her go, shaking my head. If she thought I was just going to roll over and let her boss me around, she had another thing coming. I had a feeling this was just the beginning. The next morning, I found a bright yellow envelope taped to my barn door. I peeled it off and unfolded the notice. Sure enough, it was an official HOA violation. Unauthorized structure must be removed within 30 days. Fine, $500. I scoffed. Who did these people think they were? This barn had stood long before their cookie-cutter houses popped up. I crumpled the notice and stuffed it into my pocket, determined to get some answers. I climbed into my truck and drove to the HOA office, a sleek building with glass doors and a giant logo that screamed, "We control your life." Inside, Karen sat behind the reception desk, sipping a green smoothie like she owned the place. Her face lit up with fake enthusiasm. "Ah, Mr. Dawson, here to submit your demolition plans." I leaned against the counter. "Nope. Here to ask what gives you the right to fine me for a barn that's been here longer than your entire HOA." Karen sighed dramatically, as if I was exhausting her just by existing. "As I explained, Oak Ridge Estates has expanded. Your land is now within our jurisdiction, and all structures must comply with HOA guidelines." I narrowed my eyes. "And what if I don't comply?" She smirked. "Then the fines will continue to increase. If necessary, legal action will be taken." I exhaled slowly, clenching my jaw. "You really think you can force me to tear down a century-old barn because it doesn't match your suburban aesthetic?" Her smirk deepened. "Rules are rules, Mr. Dawson." I had to resist the urge to laugh. She had no idea who she was messing with. Instead of arguing, I nodded. "All right, Karen, let's see how that works out for you." As I walked out, an idea started forming in my mind. If she wanted to play games, I was more than happy to oblige. But first, I had some research to do. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table, flipping through old documents my grandfather had kept tucked away in a wooden chest. If my gut was right, I had a way to put Karen in her place. After an hour of digging, I found it, a yellowed piece of paper with an official-looking stamp. Registered Historical Landmark, Dawson Family Barn, Est 1899. A slow grin spread across my face. This barn wasn't just old, it was legally protected. Tearing it down? Not only was it impossible, but any attempt to alter or remove it without government approval could lead to massive fines, *** for the HOA. I wasted no time. First thing in the morning, I drove straight to the county office. After speaking with a preservation officer, I confirmed what I already suspected. My barn was untouchable. Any attempt to remove or fine me over it would be a direct violation of historical preservation laws. Armed with this information, I decided to have a little fun. Instead of going straight to Karen, I let her dig her own grave. 2 days later, another fine arrived. This time, $1,000. Along with it came a formal notice stating that failure to comply within 14 days would result in further legal action. Perfect. That afternoon, I made sure I was outside, casually working on my fence when Karen strutted onto my property again, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Dawson," she said with exaggerated politeness, "I assume you've received our updated notice." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Oh, I got it all right." She smiled. "And when can we expect the removal of this outdated structure?" I crossed my arms. "Tell me, Karen, do you often violate state and federal laws, or is this your first time?" Her smirk faltered. "Excuse me." I pulled out a copy of the historical landmark registration and handed it to her. "This barn is legally protected. Your little fines? Completely illegal. If anyone's paying fines, it's gonna be the HOA for trying to bulldoze a ** historical landmark." Her face turned an impressive shade of red as she scanned the document. This must be a mistake." I chuckled. "No mistake, sweetheart. You just tried to fine me for something that your HOA has no authority over, and I have a feeling the county isn't gonna like that." Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She had just realized she'd stepped into a minefield. And I wasn't done with her yet. Karen's face twitched as she reread the document, her fingers tightening around the paper like she wanted to crush it. She opened her mouth, then shut it, clearly scrambling for a way to regain control. I leaned against the fence, enjoying the show. "What's wrong, Karen? Not in your little HOA rulebook." She forced a tight-lipped smile. "Mr. Dawson, even if this is a historical landmark, that asterisk doesn't exempt you from HOA regulations. You're still required to keep the structure in accordance with our guidelines." I let out a low whistle. "Wow, you just don't quit, do you?" She adjusted her blouse, pretending to be unbothered. "If the barn is to remain, it needs to be ** repainted, renovated, and modernized. HOA policy requires all structures to have neutral tones, updated roofing, and—" I laughed, cutting her off. "So let me get this straight. You want me to modernize a * historically protected barn **, which, by law, can't be altered." Karen hesitated. "Well, I mean, there must be some wiggle room." "Nope," I shook my head. "See, I talked to the county office. Not only * can't I alter it, but any attempt by the HOA to enforce modifications on a landmark is a direct * violation of preservation laws." Her nostrils flared. "I'll have to check with the HOA legal team." "You do that," I said with a grin. "In the meantime, I'd suggest you drop those fines before this backfires." Karen turned on her heel and marched off, her heels clicking aggressively on the gravel. But I knew her type. She wouldn't back down easily. She'd try something sneaky. Which meant it was time for ** to go on the offensive. That evening, I called the county's historical society and told them about the *HOA attempt to strong-arm me. They were more than interested. In fact, they were downright furious. Messing with a historical landmark wasn't just a finable offense. It could land the HOA in serious legal trouble. By the time I got off the phone, I had the perfect plan to teach Karen and her power-hungry HOA a asterisk lesson they wouldn't forget. The next few days, I kept things quiet, acting as if I was considering Karen's demands. Meanwhile, I worked with the Historical Society and county officials, setting up the perfect trap. First, I formally reported the HOA *** for attempting to fine me over a *** protected landmark. This triggered an official county investigation into their practices. Second, I invited a *** local news station to my farm. Nothing got under an HOA's skin like ** bad press. And finally, I filed a * cease and desist order * against the HOA for harassment. If they so much as sent me another fine, they'd be in violation of the law. Then I waited. Right on cue, Karen showed up again, this time flanked by 2 HOA board members. I recognized one of them, some guy named Todd who always wore pastel polo shirts and looked like he smelled of overpriced cologne. Karen folded her arms. "Mr. Dawson, I assume you've reconsidered." I smirked. "Oh, I've been busy." Before she could respond, a county official pulled up in a government vehicle, followed closely by a news van. Karen's smug expression vanished. The county officer, a middle-aged man with a stern face, stepped out first. "Which one of you is with the HOA?" Karen hesitated. I am." He pulled out a folder. "We received a complaint that your organization is illegally trying to fine the owner of a ** historical landmark. I'm here to conduct an investigation." Todd paled. I don't think that's necessary." "Oh, it's very necessary," the officer said. "Violating historical preservation laws carries severe ** consequences." Karen opened her mouth to protest, but before she could, a news reporter jumped in. "We're live at the Dawson farm, where a local HOA is under fire for attempting to demolish a legally protected landmark." The camera zoomed in on Karen's stunned face. "Ms. Karen Matthews, do you care to explain why your HOA is trying to fine this farm owner despite state laws protecting his property?" Karen blinked rapidly. We were simply trying to..." "You were simply trying to extort money and bulldoze history, **, I cut in. And now the county's involved." The officer nodded. "If these fines aren't dropped immediately, your HOA could face ** lawsuits, penalties, and possible dissolution." Karen looked like she might pass out. Todd started sweating through his pastel polo. And me, I was just getting started. Karen's face was a mix of shock and horror as the cameras rolled, the reporter shoving a microphone closer. "Ms. Matthews, do you have a response to these allegations?" She cleared her throat, forcing a stiff smile. "This is a misunderstanding. The HOA was simply enforcing regulations." The county officer shook his head. "No, Ms. Matthews, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's a ** violation of state preservation laws." He flipped through his folder. "If you had done your due diligence, you'd know that * fining or attempting to modify a historical landmark is illegal. The penalties for such actions could result in tens of thousands of dollars in fines, or worse, the HOA being dissolved entirely." Todd's already sweaty face turned ghostly white. "Wait, * dissolved." Karen shot him a warning look, but it was too late. The board members clearly hadn't realized the gravity of the situation. I leaned against my truck, enjoying the show. "So, Karen, that fine I was supposed to pay, you want to tell the nice officer here about that?" The county official turned to her, eyebrow raised. "Fine." Karen swallowed hard. It was just a formality." The official smirked. "You mean an illegal demand?" At that moment, the news reporter turned toward me. "Mr. Dawson, how do you feel about the HOA attempting to remove your barn?" I flashed a grin. "Oh, I feel ** great, especially knowing that the people who tried to bully me are now the ones facing the consequences." Karen's lips pressed into a thin line. She knew she had lost. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better, the county official * pulled out his own set of papers. Due to this violation, the HOA will be subject to an *** official audit by the county to ensure no other unlawful actions have been taken against residents. Todd let out a strangled noise. Oh, come ** on. Corinne's hands were clenched so tight, I thought she might snap the clipboard in half. I smirked. Looks like you're in for a busy few weeks, Corinne. She spun on her heel and stomped toward her car, but not before stepping into another deep mud puddle. This time she wasn't so lucky. Her foot * sank in up to the ankle. The camera zoomed in as she let out a frustrated screech, struggling to free herself, mud splattering everywhere. I let out a low whistle. Damn, that historic mud strikes again. The cameraman stifled a laugh. Corinne finally yanked her foot free, her once pristine white heels ruined. She shot me a murderous glare before storming off, completely humiliated, on live television. And the best part, the **HOA nightmare was just beginning. The fallout was ** glorious. Within * 48 hours *, the local news story went ** viral. Videos of Corinne * sinking into the mud *, flustered and humiliated, were all over social media. The comment section? Ruthless. HOA Corinne tries to find a historical landmark and gets owned. That guy's smirk at the end? Legend. Historic mud, 2 Corinne, 0. Corinne tried to * damage control *, but it was too late. The * county launched a full-scale audit of the HOA's finances and policies, uncovering years of shady fines and unlawful restrictions. Turns out, my case was just the * tip of the iceberg. Then came the * legal notice. Turns out, illegally fining a property owner over a * protected landmark wasn't just a slap-on-the-wrist offense. The county hit the HOA with * tens of thousands of dollars in fines * for harassment and attempting to alter a historical structure. And guess who * had to take the fall? Corinne. At the next HOA meeting, a mob of furious homeowners confronted her. Turns out, once people realized the HOA had been * falsely fining them for years, they wanted * blood. One man stood up, arms crossed. So, Corinne, you gonna pay our refunds out of your own pocket, or should we start a class-action lawsuit? Another woman shook her head. You tried to bully a man off his own land, and now we're the ones paying for your stupidity. Todd, the sweaty polo shirt guy, wasn't about to sink with the ship. I * told you not to push this, Corinne. Now the whole HOA is on the hook for your mess. Corinne, for the first time, * looked genuinely panicked. I was just following policy. Todd scoffed. Well, guess what? You're fired, effective immediately. The entire room erupted in applause. Corinne's face burned red as she grabbed her purse and stormed out, humiliated once again. And me, I was * outside waiting. As she stomped toward her car, I called out, Hey, Corinne, before you go, just wanted to remind you. She whirled around, furious. What? I grinned, tipping my hat. Rules are rules. She let out a frustrated scream, jumped into her car, and sped off for good. With Corinne gone and the HOA in * shambles *, life on my farm returned to * peaceful perfection. The county officially dropped all fines * against me and sent a letter confirming that my barn was permanently protected from any further HOA interference. Just for fun, I framed the letter and hung it right inside the barn. The HOA, a complete disaster. Turns out the audit revealed so many violations that the county * dissolved the entire HOA * within a month. Homeowners were * ecstatic *. For years, they'd been nickel and dimed for every minor infraction, and now, no more Corinne, no more ridiculous fines, no more power trips. A few weeks later, some of the neighborhood folks stopped by. A middle-aged couple, Mark and Susan, if I remembered right, walked up to my porch holding a homemade pie. Mark scratched his head. Just wanted to say thanks for, asterisk taking down the HOA. Susan nodded. We always hated how they ran things, but we never thought we could do anything about it. You stood up to them and won. I smirked. All I did was let them dig their own grave. Susan handed me the pie. Well, consider this a thank you gift. A lot of us are real happy they're gone. I took the pie, chuckling. Well, can't say I'll miss M. As they left, I turned to look at my barn, still standing proud, just like it had for over a century. No HOA, no Karen. Just asterisk me, my land, and my history untouched and protected. I took a deep breath, listening to the quiet rustling of the trees and the distant sound of my horses in the field. Peace restored. And best of all, Karen would asterisk never be able to find anyone ever again.